what's up? Hello, my name is Emma, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my review for the film adaptation of Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. Just as a quick note, I did recently get the amazing opportunity to attend an advanced screening of Everything Everything, as well as interview the cast and some of the influential figures in creating the movie. So that video, all those interviews, and red carpet coverage will be linked in the description below. So I really did enjoy the film Everything Everything. Like I said, I got to see it for free thanks to Warner Bros. A couple of weeks ago, but I did pay with my own money to go see it again, so obviously I did enjoy it if I wanted to see it a second time. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give Everything Everything as a book-to-movie adaptation based on accuracy to the book, as well as a film on its own, a 6.5 for both. Like I said, it was a really enjoyable movie. I had a lot of fun with it, but I do have some critiques of it that I feel are very valid as well. Everything Everything gives me kind of like a TVO's feel in the way that both movies were created. I don't know why I'm comparing the two, but they gave like similar feels while watching. And the last thing I want to mention in this non-spoiler section, because this is a spoiler-filled review, is that I was really pleased with everything they kept from the book, but I was also very satisfied with the changes they made. So that is really it for the non-spoiler section. Like I said, I really enjoyed the film Everything Everything. It's definitely a movie I could rewatch over and over and over again and still enjoy, but there are some points of it that I thought were weaker that I'm going to delve into during the spoiler section. So if you haven't watched Everything Everything yet, go out, watch the film, and come back and we can discuss it, but bye non-spoiler people. So as an adaptation, I was very pleased with everything they kept from the book, but I was still satisfied with the couple of changes that they did make. Essentially, everything that happened in the book was in the film. They did keep the overarching plot, and it didn't feel like anything was missing from the adaptation, which I think is personally the most you could really ask for when adapting a book to screen. Like, if everything follows the same plot line and the same pacing, like, I'm pretty much satisfied. But I did feel that the changes were reasonable and not unnecessary. For example, when Ollie and Maddie go to Hawaii, in the book they stay with one of Ollie's friends. In the movie, it's just Maddie and Ollie staying together. Like, that's not something that's very important. It still made sense and the film flowed fine. I was very intrigued by the decision to make the text, IM, and email conversations that are all over the book as to something more visual and physical, where Maddie and Ollie are having these conversations face to face in Maddie's architecture models. Part of me felt like it was a little too quirky and maybe out of place, but then the other part of me was like, this is totally consistent with the quirkiness of the books. I think this is a great decision. Overall, I do feel this was the absolute best decision for this adaptation, because we have so many different interactions between these two characters in the book where they're not together, and that doesn't really make for a great movie. So I think the director and the producers did a great job in making those conversations come across in a more visual way. Also, the set choices for this film were perfect. Everything was beautiful. The house was beautiful. Hawaii was beautiful. Like, I just want to live in the Whittier home. Regarding the acting and the overall performance of the actors in this film, I do think it was pretty decent most of the time. It wasn't like the best acting movie ever. Like, I don't think any of the actors would win an Oscar for this film. But the only person I was kind of let down by was surprisingly Amandla. Like I said, I met Amandla a few weeks ago. They are such a kind and down-to-earth person, and I had the greatest time talking to them, but their performance just really wasn't my favorite. I guess having them casted in so many different Y adaptations recently, like they're in The Darkest Minds, they're gonna be in The Hate U Give, and having not seen anything from them besides The Hunger Games, where they play a very small role, I was expecting a lot and I just didn't get that. And that is not to say that they aren't a good actor or their role in this film was terrible, because there were so many scenes where I felt super connected to Amandla. One of my favorite moments is when Maddie and Ollie are in the car going to the airport to go to Hawaii, and Maddie is just taking in all of these different experiences that she's never seen before. That was a really powerful moment for me. There were just some other moments, like where she would have a quick change of emotions, like laughing or being shocked, that were a little bit too forced and inauthentic from what I was expecting. I'm going to admit there's a possibility that I'm being a little too critical at the moment, but overall, like, the casting was perfect. Everyone looked their part, and for the most part, I think everyone did a really good job at portraying their respective characters. So before actually reading Everything, I watched the trailer for the movie, and that's really what motivated me to read the book. But there was one scene in the trailer and in the movie that I loved so much, and I was really disappointed it wasn't in the book. It is the moment where Maddie wakes up and she walks into the sunroom, and there's just pictures of like every ocean on the earth, and Ollie has left a sign that says, "Maddie, every ocean deserves to be seen by you." Oh my god, that was probably one of the cutest moments I have ever seen in a YA movie. Of course, their meeting scene was really great. Like, it was the perfect kind of awkward of really liking somebody but not totally knowing them yet and not knowing how to converse with them, that I felt it came across so well on screen. I'm kind of all over the place because I didn't take great notes for everything I liked. I actually can't remember if this is a scene from the book or if it's totally new in the movie, but when Ollie Ollie shoots his rubber band across the room at their first meeting. They never go to pick it up, and it's revealed later in the film after Maddie runs outside to Ollie, which I'll get to in a moment. Pauline lets Maddie know that they have already spent time together and they can't anymore by giving Maddie his bracelet. And I just, all the tension was just in that moment. I also loved the scene when Ollie is outside and he gets into a physical altercation with his father, and Maddie runs outside to make sure that Ollie is okay. That was another really great scene from Amandla. You could really feel the fear and worry and concern in their eyes, and then you could tell the concern from Ollie's part of wanting Maddie to go back inside and be safe. Like their first meeting, it was almost identical to the way I imagined it in the book. On that note, I am a little disappointed because I feel they didn't really go in depth with Ollie's abusive father. I felt they kind of just like brushed over it at some points. Like throughout the movie, they just like briefly mentioned that he drinks a lot, that his mom is scared of them, that his mom feels trapped, and that he does physically abuse them, which we did get to see. But I just felt the presence of this plot line of an abusive father was much more present in the book, and they kind of sacrificed that as a way to build up the romance a little bit more, which I was kind of unhappy with. And that's not to say that this isn't like a huge massive theme in the book. It is pretty underplayed in the book as well, but I felt there was a way for them to make this theme a little bit stronger and have more of a message. My favorite part of the movie was probably the whole time they're in Hawaii. I felt like every single scene in that was done really well. One particular favorite moment was when they were going swimsuit shopping and like Maddie walks out in this very tiny yellow but still beautiful bikini, and it's just like awkward between them because they've never been that intimate before. And the scene where Maddie does get sick was very well executed as well. The critique I do have about the Hawaii scenes is exactly what I felt in the book, so it's not like this is anything totally new, and I'm not just trying to pick at bad things about the movie, it's about the actual story. I feel like there just wasn't enough hesitation from Maddie, and I was really hoping that in the movie this would be the chance for Maddie to be concerned about all the different food she's eating, all of the different textiles, the air, the people she's interacting with. Let me just make it clear, I don't have SCID, I don't have an illness like SCID, I've never had any experience close to Maddie's, so it is very possible that a teenager may not be concerned about these things, but I just really wish there had been some hesitation other than her just being nervous as the plane was taking off. Like I felt there needed to be a little bit more distance and carefulness because this is something so unbelievably out of her world that she knows she could be sick at any moment. And then another thing I felt they didn't do really great in the film was how Maddie says to Ollie before they leave that she's on gene therapy. Because she's partaking in this new trial of different kinds of therapy for people like SCID, she's automatically like not sick anymore, and that's why she can experience the world. So she gets sick, and in the book we have this really great moment where like Ollie finds out he's being lied to, and Maddie never took these pills, she was never on this certain type of therapy, and she blatantly lied to him in order to get him to go to Hawaii with her, because if he had known, he never would have went. And I felt that deception was so crucial to the story, but it's never touched upon for the rest of the film after Maddie says, I'm on gene therapy, like I'm good to go. I really would have liked a scene between the two of them where they had this altercation of Maddie lying to him, because I just felt it was so important to the story, but instead it's just passed off as we're not right for each other. So that's another like itty bitty problem I have. I know I'm throwing out a lot of critiques than I normally do for YA adaptations. Let me just say those Shadowhunters reviews have really changed the way I analyze book to movie adaptations. But all these little critiques are little things that didn't fully impact my enjoyment of the movie. They just are things that I noticed, but overall, like all of the overarching scenes were really, really fantastic in my opinion. Another scene that I thought was done really well is when Maddie finds out that she doesn't have SCID, and she's like ruffling through all of her mother's papers, and she's confronting her mother like, where are the papers that say I have SCID? You don't have anything here that talks about my diagnosis. And her mother just kind of brushes it off, and Maddie knows that something is really wrong. The emotion from both Pauline and Maddie was really great. Again, it was almost exactly the way I imagined it in the book, so there were a lot of scenes where I just felt they captured the book really, really well, and that makes me a satisfied fan. Unfortunately, one of the last things I have to talk about is my biggest disappointment of the movie. I felt in the end they seriously downplayed Pauline's condition. In the book, it's speculated that Pauline has had some sort of breakdown after the death of her husband and son that led her to be overprotective of Maddie's health. If you ask me, from the beginning it should have been referred to as Munchausen by proxy syndrome, but I'm not here to diagnose anyone. But in the movie, we don't get a single mention of the mother's health. It's basically described as Maddie having some undisclosed allergy when she was younger, and the mother taking the doctor's instructions like too far. In the book, we're told that she starts seeing a therapist, like that's never touched upon in the film. It kind of felt like a big missed opportunity to really show how horrible what Pauline did was and how it's actual child abuse. Letting Maddie believe that she had skid for her entire life is medical abuse. Medical abuse is child abuse. It should be referred to as so, and I feel like the book and the movie both don't do great jobs of it, but I was expecting more from the movie because they had the opportunity to rewrite this story and make this a bigger deal, but they really made it less of a big deal. Similar to what I said with Ollie's father and now with Pauline, like these themes are just so important, and I feel like they were really pushed under the rug in order to uplift the romance, which is something I've noticed happens a lot in book to movie adaptations that are concerned with romances, and it's very, very disappointing. And again, I'm gonna say what I said in my Goodreads review of the book as well as when I talked about it in my April wrap-up. This book is pretty bad disability rep. Disability and Kidlit did do a review of the book, and everything they say about it I feel applies to the movie as well, so I'm going to link that below because they describe it way better than I ever could. It's just the plotline of this character who has believed that they were sick this entire life and had been restricted to the walls of their home is now able to live what they would consider a more fulfilled life because they aren't sick anymore. It's a very harmful trope, and a lot of people were hurt by the story of everything, so that does continue into the story that is being told in the film format. Just wanted to include that in there because I think it's important to talk about. What I find interesting about everything is that normally when I critique a book to movie adaptation, it's because they are making changes to the book that I don't like, that I don't agree with, that felt unnecessary. But for the most part, the majority of criticisms I have about the movie are actual criticisms I have of the book, and it just carried over because it is the same story just in a different form of media. But despite that, I did really enjoy the film overall. There were so many scenes that were so close to the book that it was just such a pleasure to watch as somebody who loves seeing accurate book to movie adaptations. The changes were reasonable. I literally don't have any changes to complain about, which you know is kind of my thing. The foundation and the construction of this film was really great. It was just the execution at some points that I was a little disappointed with, but that doesn't cancel out the fact that I really enjoyed this movie, and it's definitely one that I'm going to be referring to and be able to watch over and over and over again in the future, just because for the most part, other than what happens at the end, it is kind of like a fun, light-hearted film to watch, and I did enjoy my time watching it. I personally would love to know your thoughts on the film Everything Everything. Did you love it? Did you enjoy it like I did? Do you have criticisms like I did, or did you hate it? Let me know in the comments below, but that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new video. Bye!